What this lens is the 100 to 400 Mark II with a 2 times teleconverter on it, which makes it 800mm. On the lens we've got the 600D, which obviously is a crop sensor camera, and the focal length is this. Now, for some time I've been thinking about this lens, and obviously it's a good quality lens for wildlife and sports, but I do feel that it's probably a bit on the short end, 100 to 400. I have the 300mm f4 lens here, which you can put a 1.4 teleconverter on this that turns it to a 5.6 420mm lens. Now, if you basically take off the 2x teleconverter on the 600D camera and just have it on the lens itself, you're getting around 370 to 380mm according to a lot of reviewers. However, what I am finding is even with the crop factor, the zoom difference between using the 300 with a 1.4x teleconverter on it, it's actually a lot. It seems to be less telephoto than using the teleconverter on this. Obviously, you're getting probably about an extra 50mm focal length. Now, I'm not one for pixel peeping, but I have zoomed in into the images, and it does appear to me that the quality between having the 400 on, just the 400, and the 300 with the 1.4 teleconverter on it, the quality is really close. Almost impossible to determine which is better. So I would probably say the only advantage obviously of this is it zooms, so it makes it easier for tracking. However, I have been thinking it was a choice between the 150 to 600 Sigma, either the Sport or the Contemporary, or the Canon 100 to 400. Now, if you're careful on price and you're willing to ship internationally and buy it from other regions, you can pick this lens up for £1,200. The Sigma lens you can pick up for about the same amount of money from a UK vendor. And the choice is up to you, but generally when you buy from Sigma in your own region, you tend to get 3 years warranty. I know in the US you get 4 years. And also there is a third option. Now, this isn't the Mark II, this is the Mark I, but this is the 2.8 70 to 200 zoom lens. Obviously this lens doesn't have any moving parts externally, so obviously when you change it from 70 to 200, nothing is moving in and out. So that's an advantage of this lens. So the advantage of having the 70 to 200 is obviously you've got a 2.8 aperture, so what you can do is take any teleconverters off it and get a bit closer to your wildlife if it's getting dark and you've got a 2.8 aperture on that. So obviously there is a benefit to using the 70 to 200. And I guess I should do a shout out. I should point out Tony Northrup has done a comparison, and obviously that's a shout out to his video. I'll put a link to his video in the description if you want to check it out. But what he's done is he's done a comparison between having a teleconverter on the Mark II version of this lens, a 2x, or using the 100 to 400. So obviously check that out, and he suggests that the quality is more or less identical, you know, no matter which lens you use. Now, there is an inherent disadvantage if you're using a basic crop sensor camera using the 100 to 400. Now, if you try and use a 1.4x teleconverter on this, it will change the lens to an f8 lens, which means unless you've got some of the more advanced cameras out there, unless you've got this 100 to 400 lens is a fantastic lens. However, if you put a teleconverter on, a 1.4x, you will basically lose autofocus if you're using one of the basic crop bodies. For example, the 600D, the 7D, most of the crop sensor cameras like the 70D, I believe the new 80D will be able to autofocus at f8. The 7D Mark II can. Also the 5D, the third version of it, Mark III, and obviously the 1DX. And possibly some of the more professional ones that were made some time ago. So keep that in mind if you plan on putting a teleconverter on this lens to turn it into some sort of beast of a lens. Obviously a 2x on that will turn it to 800mm. 1.4 obviously will make it near 640mm. So keep that in mind. Obviously on full frame you're talking 560mm with a teleconverter on this 400 lens. You see, Canon say it's a 100 to 400, but a lot of reviews sort of indicate it's probably closer to 370 or 380mm. Now, from my experience of using this lens, I can tell you that you're only getting a slight improvement in terms of framing. When you use this lens, which is a 300mm, and you put a 1.4 teleconverter on it, you're getting 420mm. That becomes 5.6 because obviously the 300mm is f4. With the big Canon Mark II lens here, obviously it's 5.6 at 400mm. So you're getting more reach if you're using the 300 with the teleconverter. Obviously it can't zoom in and out, and some people might think that's quite important. I am contemplating whether the Sigma 150 to 600 is a better thing to purchase. So if anyone out there is interested in this big debate, whether to go for the Canon 100 to 400 or the Sigma 150 to 600 contemporary or sport, let me know in the comments what you think. Obviously this is a comparison between the Canon 100 to 400, the 300 with the 1.4 teleconverter on, and obviously again the Mark I 70 to 200 with the 1.4 and 2x teleconverters on. In general, I'm not too fond of the 2x teleconverters because they do seem to dirty the image a little bit. However, it's not that bad because obviously some older, bigger lenses that are, say, 800mm or 500mm are not quite as good as these Canon lenses. So I hope this little discussion hasn't bored you too much. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put some samples at the end of this video for you to have a look at. They are raw, and basically I've taken a test image in a studio of a Cylon character in RAW, 5.6 in most cases. Obviously when I put teleconverters on there will be f8 and f11 respectively, and it's up to you to make your decision which you prefer, and hopefully this will help you decide what you want to go for. There's one other possibility. If obviously you're not too fond of the idea of the 100 to 400, you could always get the 400 prime, which I do not have here, but it is very close in quality from the examples I've seen between the 300 with the 1.4 teleconverter compared to the 400. The quality is very close. So I hope this little video has been helpful. Watch those examples, make your mind up. I'm not here to tell you what to buy, but hopefully this video has been really helpful in deciding whether you want to go for the 100 to 400, the 300 with a 1.4 teleconverter, or whether you want to go a completely different route, possibly going for maybe the Mark II or maybe the Mark I if you get it cheap enough, using a 2x or 1.4 teleconverter. So basically you put a 1.4 on this, you're getting 280mm, which isn't far from having the 300mm. Obviously you could put a 2x on that as well. I would probably recommend, if you're going to do that, get the version 3 of the teleconverter. Now this is the Mark I. The main difference between the Mark II and the Mark I is weather sealing, basically, and slightly better improved quality, very slightly, hardly noticeable. So, you know, if you can pick up a cheap Mark I teleconverter, 1.4x, 2x, you probably pick up a good deal. So that's my roundup of these three lenses: the 70-200 Mark I, the 300 Prime, the 100-400 Mark II. Let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think the Sigma is a better buy for more focal length? At the moment, I'm contemplating trading this in for the Sigma Sport, but I haven't decided yet. And hope you enjoyed this video and watch those examples. Thank you.